coyotes. I'm meteorologist John Weatherby.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And I'm the host, Bob Roth. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, we are a show about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And how are we able to do this? We do this by bringing extraordinary guests here to the show to talk about these things. And they are generally experts in their fields. They are research analysts, doctors, financial service people, giving us ideas on how to plan for our future, attorneys, you name it, we've had it. We've done about 180 shows here on the air here at Money Radio, 1510 AM, 105.3 FM, and on the World Wide Web at moneyradio1510.com. If you want to catch one of the previous episodes, please go up to our website at cypresshomecare.com. Click on the media button, hit the drop down, and the three down from the top is our radio show. And you can catch any one of the about 180 we've been bringing to you since January 2014. So without further ado, I want to just jump right into this. We're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park, the Money Radio Studios. It's beautiful here in Arizona. This is why we live here. It's about 70 degrees. Right here in the Scottsdale Air Park, and I have here in the studio one of those extraordinary guests. I've got Dr. David Spierer, and Dr. David Spierer is the co-founder of a company called WellnessRoundtable.com. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you very much.
Is it okay if I call you David?
It's fine.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. You and I met a couple months ago, and you are new to the Valley by a couple years.
Yes.
I could read your bio, but I would love our listening audience to know a little bit about you and how Wellness Roundtable came to be.
Okay. Give you a little bit of a background. I am an academic, I guess you would say by trade, which is I've been teaching for about the last 16 years in the area of what's called applied physiology. So I've taught classes in exercise science, exercise physiology, clinical physiology, instrumentation, research methods, things of that nature. Most of my students are students who go on to physical therapy school, or they may become coaches. Those are the types of students I have. Now, most of my teaching has been in the New York area. So I am a New Yorker and have been my entire life. I actually lived in the city for 25 years before we moved out here. And not to be disparaging in any way, but there was no plan at all to move out west. It was more something that my wife was doing and a career move that brought us out here. So we're out here about 3.5 years. I still teach online a little bit with the university that I was teaching with in New York, and I do some teaching here as well in Arizona, and still keep up on my research. But to answer your question, before we left New York, I came up with an idea with a partner of mine to basically have an online forum, an online platform that would be what we consider interdisciplinary. So, for instance, let's say you go to see a health professional, not necessarily a doctor, but a physical therapist or a nutritionist. You have to travel to that person most of the time, and you may have to wait to see them. So you wait a week or something like that. Our idea was to create a roundtable environment where you would speak to multiple experts at one time. So you would give them the information that you have. Here's my issue. Here's what I'd like to address. They do the research. They get online with you, and then they attack it from their points of expertise. And we felt that this was not only a time saver, but it was also something where the professionals could collaborate with each other and have a much more, I guess you would say, enriched solution for the consumer or for the user, as opposed to, all right, I'm going to see a nutritionist, now I'm going to see this professional, now I'm going to see this one. How do they interconnect? How do they link up? For anybody who is interested in a healthier life, as you were talking about, there's always different aspects, right? There's the physical aspect, there's the nutritional aspect, there's the psychological aspect. What if you could talk to all of those individuals at one time who've now kind of gelled on your issue and are attacking it or addressing it, at one time? That was the idea of Wellness Roundtable.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm at your website. This thing is really awesome. For our listening audience, it is wellnessroundtable.com, spelled exactly as it sounds.
Right.
And as I look at it, it's easy to navigate. And this is a platform, right? It's
correct.
A platform to be able to connect to a lot of people. And,
right.
I got to tell you, David, you want to speak to an expert, you click Get Started. You want to attend a lecture, Get Started, explore our content. But even looking at speaking to an expert, and I'm just navigating as I'm sitting here talking to you, and if I just hit general fitness and I go deep dive, if you would, into this, I get a whole list of experts here. So my question to you is, how do you find these people?
Okay, great question.
And I mean, you've got Kyle McMinn and Amy Kraft, and I mean, you can get their full bio, Scott Weiss.
Correct.
And they're star rated too?
Right. So what happens is once an individual does a roundtable, they have the opportunity to actually give them a rating. That star rating would then be posted on their profile. How do we get the experts? We actually, many months ago, we put out actual job postings on professional websites, specifically the National Athletic Training Association, the American College of Sports Medicine. These are the places that these experts go to for either their content or also to look for new opportunities. And we got a really strong response from this. We had a lot of people who were really interested in being on the site, but also what you need to know too is that the experts who are on the site are fully vetted to get on the site. There's a 5-point sort of vetting process that we go through. The first thing we do is we ask for their CV. In academic terms, curriculum vitae, but also resume.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's the academic in me coming
and I got to tell you, oftentimes here on the show, I always say when people use acronyms, tell us what that is.
Right.
There you go.
Thank
Thank you.
So in some cases it's a resume. In some cases it is a CV. And we go through that and we look at it for not only the content but the sort of the continuity, right? We want to see that people have been doing something throughout. So I don't want to see the last thing they did was 2013. What have you been doing for the last 4 years?
Exactly.
So we look at that. So we review the resume or CV. Then we actually ask for 2 professional references that we check. So we call, and I've called every professional reference to find out what is this person like in a work environment. Not only that, but how do they interact with other experts in their field? Because if you're going to be online with another expert, one in Ohio, another in Texas, and somebody in New York, I don't want you calling someone out on the carpet if you don't necessarily believe in what they say.
Right.
You can do it diplomatically, but you can't have that kind of animosity or aggressive behavior. So we do an interview. The next thing we do is we review all of their certifications and licenses. So we ask for a picture of license, whether it's a diploma, certification. We look at expiration date. We'll call the association to make sure they're in good standing. We do that as well. The next thing we do is we interview them. And we do that through our platform. So we sort of kill 2 birds with one stone. What we do is we have them get on the platform. We go through specific questions like, have you ever been online before? Is this a new environment for you? What do you feel about this? Are you nervous about this? Those kinds of things. How might you answer a question from a consumer that was X. So we'll put up like kind of scenarios. And then we also get to orient them to the video interface. So just to let you know, when you said it's a platform, what we have is the video is embedded into the website itself. And once an individual gets on, a consumer and an expert, they're talking through the platform, through the website.
You know, I really appreciate you taking us through this. And I want to really talk about its origin in the next segment when we get to. But for our listening audience, it's wellnessroundtable.com. David, we're down our first segment. It's hard to believe it. James has taken us out by little Bruce Springsteen. I'm sure being a New York guy, you like The Boss.
And he's actually got a residence now on Broadway.
There you go.
He's got his own show.
I love it. I love it. Well, you've been listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and I got Dr. David Spierer here from Wellness Roundtable. We're down one. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Johnny Dean.
And I'm Rick, the Professor Plum.
Every day on Bucket Strategy Investing, we're talking about financial planning, investment decisions, and retirement strategies.
We focus on wealth education and the strategy designed for the needs you have today.
And the goals you have for the future. Tune in to Bucket Strategy Investing.
And call in with questions.
Retirement strategies, taxes, Social Security, and more. That's what we're talking about on Bucket Strategy Investing.
January is a great time of year in the Valley. Sun is shining with a high of 70 degrees, and now Financial Fest. Financial Fest 25, Saturday, January 27th in Scottsdale. This is our 25th annual Financial Fest, so we have big plans for one of the country's longest-running financial and investment expos. New investment ideas, and a wide variety of exhibitors. Financial Fest is free to attend, so register today at financialfest.com.
If you're listening to this message, then that's a good sign. In fact, we're always interested in good signs. Good signs identify people and places. Good signs communicate important information. With our business, we not only encourage good signs, we create them. We're Croy Sign Systems. Our signs identify, direct, and inform so you can navigate through life faster and easier. And that's a really good Croy sign. Call Croy Sign Systems today at 480-619-6070 or visit us online at kroysigns.com.
Hello, Bill Tatro here. In all my years in radio, I said the same thing. Whether it's politics or finance, history or economics, it's all about money. I now produce an insightful newsletter called It's All About Money, and I'm presenting an exclusive offer to Money Radio listeners. Go to BillTatro.com/moneyradio to get my newsletter for over half off the regular price and get regular content that will educate, inform, and may even be fun. Go to BillTatro.com/moneyradio for over half off. Do it today.
Got a big mess that needs to be cleaned up? Hurry down to Lowe's to pick up your Shop Vac brand wet dry vacuum with new advanced motor technology starting at just $79.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And if you're just tuning in, we're on our second segment. I've got Dr. David Spierer here in the studio. He's the co-founder for wellnessroundtable.com. And in our first segment, we really talked a lot about his background. We talked about the platform itself, and it is really amazing. I'm telling our listening audience, please, if you get a chance, check out his platform. I mean, the bios on these people, the experts that you've lined yourself up are absolutely extraordinary. And you can go through it and you can sit down and you can, say, I want physical therapy, strength and conditioning, personal training, fitness competition, you name it, you've got it there.
Yeah.
And I really loved what you said in the first segment, David, is that these guys, and I do this in my business because my company employs caregivers. These people are all vetted out. They're interviewed. Their credentials are checked out. You want to make sure that, because you say it's a round table and you might have various professionals from various disciplines in various geographical areas, that they are cohesive and they can work together.
Correct. Right.
It's that old saying, united we stand, divided we fall, and we need to make sure everybody has a united front.
Correct.
So I'm going to deep dive a little bit more and really ask you, the origin of this, and really ask you a couple of specific questions. And, one of the questions, and really, hones in on your background as an associate professor and director of exercise science, and really understanding the body and physiology of the body and how it works. What happens, and again, our listening audience is really, more in tune with our show about how our older adults can live a healthier, happier life. What happens to our bodies as we age? And can we stop and prevent it? And every single person out there is looking for the fountain of youth. They want to take this magic pill. And this generation that, is, our parents and our grandparents grew up with that. And they're very in tune with trying to just take a pill. But you and I both know there's a lot more to it.
Correct. Yeah. You said sort of the magic word, which is pill. And I'll tell you why. I'm just going to start my answer with that, is that a few years ago at the Salk Institute in San Diego, there were some researchers there who developed a pill based on a compound that had been used in 2008, something that was actually banned by the IOC in the games in Beijing. And the pill was known as the exercise pill because when they gave it to mice, the mice were able to do 70% more. So their endurance improved 70%.
Wow.
So the mice got on the wheel and they ran, and then when they, didn't give the mice the pill, they pretty much were sedentary. There is no pill. There may be a pill in research, and whether or not that is viable in humans, we won't know for a little bit. But, the aging process, as I've been reviewing it for a very, very long time now, is, and I hate to say it, but it's not really a rosy picture in the sense of as we age, things start to break down. So let's just take a look at just some things that happen. And then I'll give you, I'm not going to say they're solutions, but maybe some recommendations on what an individual might be able to do to alter this or change these kind of untoward events. So from the cardiovascular system standpoint, what ends up happening is our hearts beat about 72 times a minute on average. We go through a 24-hour day. Those days, we have 365 of those a year, right? We live on an average 76 years. Do the math. You're talking about millions of beats. And after those beats are done, that's really it. So heart failure affects about 5 million people in this country. And although it's not as sexy as cancer is, it still affects a very large portion of individuals, and it's a very difficult condition to deal with. So the first thing that happens is our vessels start to stiffen. They're not as flexible. They don't move as easily. And because of that, what ends up happening is we put a little bit more pressure on our heart to force the blood through the system. As we do that, what ends up happening as our heart fills before pumping all the blood out to the body, we lose that filling pressure. We lose that filling time. And because we lose the filling time, the amount of blood, the volume of blood is lessened. Because we have less blood in the heart to eject out, less of it goes out to the body. What does that do? So, from a physiological standpoint, that's all well and good, but how does that really affect our function? Well, think about it. The blood carries oxygen. The less blood you have pumping through your system, the less oxygen you have. If you need to lift a grocery bag, believe it or not, you're using oxygenated blood to do that. The less oxygen you have, the harder it's going to be to do those small tasks. And as the heart starts to get weaker, those tasks become much more difficult. So that's from a, let's say, cardiovascular standpoint. From a muscular standpoint, hate to say it, but after the age of 25, we start to lose muscle tissue. We start to lose our proteins. We start to lose the muscle tone. Can we maintain That, yes, to a degree we can. And there have been studies that show that people who are 90 years old still see increases in muscle. But what ends up happening is we start to lose the muscle tissue that's responsible for power, responsible for get up and go. So what we're left with is the muscle tissue that's kind of there that kind of helps us with what you would say long-term type physical activity. And as we lose that powerful muscle tissue, it's very hard to do things like get up out of a chair, like lift groceries, lift a grandchild, whatever is required to do that kind of lifting. We don't have that muscle tissue to do it. Now, combine that with the less oxygenation or the decrease in oxygenation. Now you've got an issue where your muscles aren't getting oxygenated, plus you don't really have the muscle tissue to do the kind of lifting that you're requiring your body to do. Metabolism. Our appetite slows. We slow our appetite. We have what's known as aging anorexia, where we don't really feel like eating as much. We may end up with, certain bowel issues. There may be stomach issues, things like that. Our intestines aren't as flexible. All of those things. Digestion starts to slow down. And in terms of our bones, we lose calcium, and therefore our bones are a little bit more brittle. I don't know if you've heard the scenario where somebody falls and breaks their hip. In many cases, the hip breaks and they fall. So the bones are brittle enough that they just snap. Now, saying all of that, and again, as I mentioned, and I kind of started this with, it's not a rosy picture. It really isn't. However, there are things we can do. And there are recommendations out there that are out there because we are dealing with a very, very large population of people over the age of 65. By 2030, we're going to have about 63 million people in that age bracket. So we've got to figure out something to do. We've got to make recommendations for individuals who are in that segment where they can live longer, healthier lives. Not only that, but quality of life, right? All the things that I mentioned, cardiovascular physiology, muscle, metabolism, bones, if those things go south, your quality of life will suffer. And that's, and I teach my students the same thing.
I think you did such an amazing job summarizing it. I mean, really, truly is. When you sit down, you think about it. You made this statement about, so many people think that older adults fall and then they break their hip. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes it's exactly like you talked about. The hip broke.
Correct.
And that's what caused the fall.
Correct.
Because the bones are brittle. You talked about the fact that, you lose flexibility and elasticity. Mm-hmm. And, I'm self-deprecating, so I share with our listening audience some of the challenges I've dealt with.
Sure.
And one of them has been, I've had some issues with my tendons and ligaments. Mm-hmm. And, I had my tricep tendon repaired, and I've got titanium sutures in that. I had my posterior tib tendon and the peroneus brevis and longitude tendons repaired.
Uh-huh.
But, what my doc told me, and I've had him here on the show, Dr. David Bailey, who's an orthopedic surgeon, is he said to me, you have to dial it down a little bit, Bob. You're not 20 years old anymore. And he said your tendons and your cartilage and your ligaments aren't as pliable and as elastic as they used to be. They become a little more rigid.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it is something that we all have to be cognizant of. But would you, for our listening audience, as we get ready to go out, would you name it's 4 areas, right? Cardiovascular, musculoskeletal, metabolism, and bones. Yeah. All of those are so important.
Absolutely.
And one of the things as we get ready to leave, have you ever read the book Younger Next Year?
I've read Dr. Arnott's books. I haven't read that book.
So it's Chris Crowley, who is he's a consultant, and he paired up with a guy by the name of Dr. Henry Lodge. Mm-hmm. And it's a really good book. But the 2 things he talked about when you're old, getting ready to go over 50. Oh, we're at a break.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back.
So usually.
Senate Republican leaders are trying to round up wayward senators to get them on board the final version of the tax overhaul bill. Among those still on the fence.
Goodbye. Senator Jeff Flake still saying he's looking at the bill as well, waiting for the final proposal before he says anything. And Wolf, Senator Bob Corker, he was a no the first time around. His concerns related to the deficit haven't necessarily been addressed, certainly in a meaningful manner.
Correspondent Phil Mattingly. Florida's Marco Rubio has just tweeted that the changes to the child tax credit are a good step. Earlier this week, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said he was ready to talk to North Korea without any conditions. Today at the UN Security Council, Tillerson said North Korea must earn its way back. After 20 years, it's goodbye. America Online has turned off its instant messenger service. Once the leading edge of social communication, AIM was bypassed by texting, Facebook, Twitter, and pretty much every other form of communication. I'm Rich Johnson.
Yes! The Johnsons don't have that inflatable musical snowman switched on tonight.
Yeah, I may or may not have accidentally on purpose cut the wires.
I love you. Alexa, play holiday music.
You're my president.
Tens of millions of songs, one for every moment. Amazon Music Unlimited. For a limited time only, sign up today and receive 3 months for 99 cents at amazon.com/music unlimited. Automatically renews, cancel anytime.
When you're hiring, you want qualified candidates fast, and it can be hard to know where to find them. More than 3 million businesses use Indeed.com, the world's #1 job site. Whether you need entry-level or highly skilled employees, Indeed helps you find great talent and make the right hire. Indeed is offering new users a $50 credit to give their first job post premium visibility as a sponsored job. Redeem this offer at Indeed.com/promo. That's Indeed.com/promo. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
The leader in business news is the station you can take with you wherever you go. Get the Money Radio app for your smartphone and stay connected.
Hey, Phoenix, Larry Kudlow here. Be sure to join me every Saturday at 2 p.m. on the Southwest's longest-running financial talk radio station, the one and only Money Radio. And during the week, don't miss Mastering Money with hosts Steve Jurich and Ken Morgan daily at 8 a.m. right here on Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM.
For podcast, download the free Mastering Money app for both Apple and Android and visit masteringmoneyradio.com.
January is a great time of year in the Valley. Sun is shining with a high of 70 degrees, and now Financial Fest. Financial Fest 25, Saturday, January 27th in Scottsdale. This is our 25th annual Financial Fest, so we have big plans for one of the country's longest-running financial and investment expos. Financial and investment strategies, and a wide variety of exhibitors. Financial Fest is free to attend, so register today at financialfest.com.
It's an extremely valuable resource. It's found in offices, buildings, and schools. It's a resource that speaks volume, yet it never makes a sound. Everyone recognizes it. Everyone uses it. Interestingly enough, it's rarely discussed. Croy Sign Systems, designers and manufacturers of architectural and ADA signs since 1981. Let Croy be your resource for identification, direction, and information. Give Croy Signs a call at 480-619-6070 or online at kroysigns.com.
Hello, Bill Tatro here. In all my years in radio, I said the same thing. Whether it's politics or finance, history or economics, it's all about money. I now produce an insightful newsletter called It's All About Money, and I'm presenting an exclusive offer to Money Radio listeners. Go to BillTatro.com/moneyradio to get my newsletter for over half off the regular price and get regular content that will educate, inform, and may even be fun. Go to BillTatro.com/moneyradio for over half off. Do it today.
To relieve muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. This fast-acting foam can also prevent muscle cramps. Get TheraWorks Relief today at select CVS and Rite Aid pharmacies or TheraWorksRelief.com.
Frank Miller with Your Money Now. Well, stocks continue to post gains this afternoon with the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P trading in positive territory. Steel stocks putting in some of the market's best performances today. The NYSE Arca Steel Index up over 1%. Brazil's CSN and Cleveland Cliffs posting standout gains today. Well, in the era before text messaging, it was one of the mainstays of digital communications, but has now met its demise as of today. AOL's instant messenger product and service line has been discontinued as of today. AOL parent company Oath revealing that AIM will no longer exist. Meanwhile, other products like AOL Mail, AOL Desktop Golden Member, and subscriptions will not be affected. Users can still use their AIM.com email addresses to send and receive email as usual. And it looks like NFL anthem protests may not also be affecting attendance at games, but it could be affecting chicken wing sales as well. Poultry giant Sanderson's Farms is blaming the anthem protests for lower sales in its fourth quarter and the full year overall. And that's your money now.
This report is brought to you by Bank of America. Entrepreneurs expect a solid finish to the year and are confident in the 2018 economy, according to the Fall 2017 Bank of America Small Business Owner Report. Nearly 3/4 of small business owners are optimistic their 2017 year-end revenue will surpass that of 2016. In addition, economic confidence also surged by more than 10% from last fall, as almost half of entrepreneurs expect the national economy to improve in 2018. However, growth plans remain flat from last fall, and plans to hire are down from last year. Sharon Miller, head of Small Business Bank of America.
With unemployment at record lows, business owners may be experiencing challenges in finding qualified candidates. This has led to a decline in hiring plans for the year ahead. Even with that challenge, the short-term future is very bright as entrepreneurs are upbeat about the 2018 economy.
For more, visit newsroom.bankofamerica.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and I got Dr. David Spierer here in the studio, and we're in our second half. Not sure what happened in the first half. We kind of got caught off. But here, James, my engineer, he's taking all the blame. He's saying, hey, it was my bad, not to worry. But you did hit us up with a great tune to start off our second half. A little bit of Baba O'Reilly from The Who. There you go. What a great way to start off the weekend, right?
Yes. Yes.
Great
very
way.
Uplifting tune.
It is very, very uplifting. So as we were closing out our second segment, I was making reference to a book that, look, you could write. It's not so much, that you don't know this stuff, but I wanted to share it with our listening audience. So it was a consultant and a doctor. The doctor is Dr. Henry Lodge. And basically, he boiled it down to two things. You can make the choice when you're 50 years or older to decay or grow.
Correct.
And he equated it to the tide coming in. And unfortunately, as we get older, the tide is pushing us in. And he used the metaphor of whales and porpoises and dolphins getting pushed in by the tide. And where do they end up? They end up on the shore.
Correct. Right.
When they get sick, they die on the shore. So we as older adults have to really keep ourselves from being pushed in from that tide.
Interesting.
And, he talks about growth. And how do you do growth? You exercise. And he says that you don't have a choice, but you need to exercise every day.
Absolutely.
And he's not talking about going to the gym for 3 hours.
Right.
He's talking about just moving and exercising.
Right.
And doing a little bit of weightlifting. And I'm talking about stuff that might even be body weightlifting.
Correct.
But doing that kind of stuff to really stave off that tide. And I think that's a great metaphor. At least that's what I learned from him. And I'm learning so much from you because I think you could write a similar book, but it's so true. I mean, as we get older, we've got to fight off that tide coming in.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as we were talking about during the break, there is a paradox here that our brains tell us that we're one age, our bodies tell us that we're another. And I think after the age of, let's say, 45, even 50, you need to start listening to your body. Although you may want to push through an injury or you may want to push through some pain, that is probably going to be detrimental in the long run. So, that being said, there's a lot of very good and solid guidelines out there for people who are a little bit older and still want to maintain that quality of life and want to exercise. And before I talk about that, I do want to say that there are risks to exercise that are risks that just come with the territory. So, for instance, our hearts are a little bit weaker, so you don't want to push yourself so hard that you're gonna work your heart that much harder that it's gonna be something it's not used to. Number one. Number two, weightlifting. If you're lifting heavy weight over your head, your spine may not be able to handle that. Again, not 25. We're 50. We're a little bit older than that. So you really need to use, I hate to say the word, but common sense in what it is you're doing. One of the things you might want to do is seek out a professional who knows this, who has studied this and is certified. And you could go to the American College of Sports Medicine for that. There is the International Sports Science Association for that. These people have certifications in working with seniors and older individuals.
Or you could go to Wellness Roundtable.
Or you could go to Wellness Roundtable and you could get a program.
And what we're sitting here talking about.
Correct.
But, for us that were born in the 50s and 60s, and maybe even 70s, we were taught, and I talked to you about this in the second segment, about some of my tendons that are reattached with titanium sutures. We were taught no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
No pain, no gain. And you know what? When you're 40, 45, 50, you have to listen to your body. Because when I blew out my posterior tib, I was doing a jog, walk, run, sprint on a treadmill, and my arch started bothering me, but I pushed through it, and it never got better.
Right. So, that could have been plantar fasciitis for you, but it happened to be you blew out, your posterior tibialis, which is major. I feel like, like I said before, there's a paradox here. Your brain thinks that you're one age and your body thinks you're another. You just need to use common sense, and you really do need to listen to what your body's telling you. So here's a great point, is that if your body's telling you, listen, I'm a little tired today, I'm not really feeling up to it, take the day and rest. Your body is telling you it needs to recover. It needs to recover.
Right.
So often what you'll see is, people are exercising at younger ages 5-6 times a week. It's almost impossible for people who are, let's say, over the age of 65 to do it that often unless the intensity is very, very low. But to push yourself 5-6 days a week is difficult. So instead, the recommendation is 3 days a week. And you can use various ways of gauging that intensity. One is by your heart rate. You can use something called heart rate reserve, which is the difference between your resting heart rate and your heart rate at maximum. Now, you're not going to go and run hill sprints to determine your maximum heart rate, but what you could do is take the number 220 and subtract your age. So, for instance, a 50-year-old has a maximum heart rate estimated at 170. And a 60-year-old has a 160 maximum heart rate. So if your heart rate at rest is 70 and your heart rate at max is 160, you have a heart rate reserve of 90.
Got it.
You use percentages of that heart rate reserve, and then you can determine what your intensity should be. You can also use what's called a talk test. Very, very simple. On a scale of 1 to 10, you can determine how hard it is that you're exercising. So if you're at a 3 to a 5, it's light to moderate. A 5 to a 7, moderate to heavy, and a 7 plus is heavy. Most people at the age we're talking about should be exercising 3 times a week, somewhere between 3 and 6. And therefore, you're working light to moderate, whether that's on a treadmill, it's on a bike, it's doing anything that is repetitive. That's what you're looking for. So those are various ways of gauging intensity. And the other thing is what's really important, we talked about this at the break, is weight lifting, but not in the sense that you're thinking about it. I don't want to scare the listeners and say, oh, yeah, you have to go to Gold's Gym, you got to get a 3-year membership, and now you got to start doing bench presses. That's not what I'm talking about. Body weight is one of the greatest ways of actually affecting the bones and doing some type of weight-bearing activity where not only the bones get stronger, but the muscles that pull on the bones get stronger. So 2 to 3 times a week, and that can be during a day where you actually do your what would be considered aerobic exercise. That is strength training. And that strength training is anything from a push-up on a wall to doing a sit-to-stand in a chair. Stand in front of a chair, sit down in the chair, stand up in the chair, sit down in the chair, stand up in the chair. Do it 10 times. That's it. Next day, do it 12 times. So there's various ways of progressing through.
And you can do that every single day. I mean, I had the opportunity of having a concierge doc here on the show about 2 years ago. And one of the things that he shared with us is he made this one statement, which is so true. He said, sitting is the new smoking.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And you know what? I have 2 treadmill desks, and I don't use them as much as I'd like to. But, I mean, we see standing desks all the time.
Yes.
And you talk about doing just body weight stuff. You could do, and again, you're the expert, not me, but you could do body squats.
Yes.
As you're sitting there talking on the phone. You could do lunges and standing lunges, and those, in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're some of the largest muscles and the most important muscles in your body.
For sure.
I mean, you can do those as you're listening on the phone, or you could do that as you're working at your desk. I mean, there's so many things you can do.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're at a computer for 20 minutes, take a break. Do some sit to stand in a chair. Do it 10 times. Go back to your computer.
Don't grab the table in front of you, if you're in religious services, don't grab the pew in front of you. Don't use your hands.
Right.
You engage those muscles.
If you are going to use your hands, you can use them for balance, but you don't want to what we call white knuckle them, which is grab them, like you're going to fall.
Wow.
There's so many things you can do.
Well, I'll tell you what, my man James has picked some really good tunes.
This is
Got
great.
a little Jerry Rafferty taking us out. We're down 3 segments, David. I can't believe it. We got one more to go. I want to hear a little bit more about corporate wellness.
Sure.
We talked a little bit about that before doing the show. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm your host, Bob Roth. I got Dr. David Spierer in the studio. We're talking Wellness Roundtable. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Gary Kolb. I'm host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, insurance, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we will carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call, 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559.
Are you tired of your power bill going up year after year? Did you know with the changes voted in by the Corporation Commission in August, your APS electric bill will increase year after year? That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy. Solar Sandy can save your hard-earned money on a bill you're already paying too much on. Just think, you can save thousands on your electric bill and control the cost of your electricity and avoid unexpected rate hikes. You can also increase the value of your home and help the environment. And remember, there are 0 upfront cost or fees. This rate increase will increase your power bill. That's why you need to call Ask Solar Sandy today. The best time is now. Call Ask Solar Sandy at 623-850-8229. That's 623-850-8229. Visit AskSolarSandy.com. That's AskSolarSandy.com.
Support the Jewish Tuition Organization Private School Tax Credit. Provide need-based scholarships. Visit jtophoenix.org.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're on our 4th segment. This is Bob Roth. I'm your host, and I've got Dr. David Spierer in the studio here, he is from a company called Wellness Roundtable. It's a platform, and it's located right on the website, and it's spelled out exactly like it sounds. And we're talking about how to live a healthier, happier life.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job up to now really describing where we need to focus in on. There isn't a magic pill. And you talked a lot about the heart. And, the heart is the leading cause of death still to this day.
Cardiovascular
disease. And, what we can do to improve our hearts. And really, the physiological stuff that you walked us through. What we go through as we age it's so important to realize that we just don't push out enough blood like we used to as we get older. And you and I, we share something in common. We talked about it at a break. I'm in this business today because I was a caregiver for my mom. And my mom is no longer with us. She's been gone almost 15 and a half years. And it was her heart. At 48 years old, she had a massive heart attack and really never recovered. 2/3 of her heart died that day. And she was able to live nearly 18 years. And that was the origin and the beginnings of our company because we found ourselves as accidental caregivers. And I know that, recently you shared with me that you lost your father.
Yes.
91, 92?
91 years old, yeah.
91,
yeah.
A wonderful long life.
Yes, very much so.
I lost Mom at 66, so 91 I would take tomorrow unless I was 90, right?
Right.
But ultimately it was his heart as well.
Yes, it was. Yeah, he suffered from heart failure, and he also had a bad hip. And as he got older, it was difficult for him to perform daily activities, walking and sitting and things of that nature. But being the exercise science guy, I created a little program for him. He was actually out here in last December, to get away from the New York cold. And I created a program for him that consisted of about 10 exercises and very, very simple, ankle pumps and sit to stands in front of a chair and ankle rolls and shoulder rolls and things like that. And he was doing actually quite well, but he had an irregular heart rhythm, and that's really what sort of was the beginning of the end for him. He had a fall, and therefore, when he was hospitalized, he just kind of went downhill. But it shows that even a guy who's 91 could still do those kinds of exercise and could still benefit in a way that the quality of life was improved.
And that's what I wanted you to really bring to our listening audience, is that you could do those exercises.
Absolutely.
Just because you can't get on a treadmill and really pump it out. I mean, there's stuff that we can do sitting down. There's stuff that we can do standing up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Laying down. I mean, our body is meant to move. And,
yes.
And I shared with you my wife, Susie, who I've talked about here on the show before. She's a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And when she first got into the business back 15 years ago, she created this brochure, and her tagline was, train for the sport of life.
Correct.
And really, the sport of life is those things like bending down, lifting up babies, bending down, lifting up groceries. Simple things, but a lot of times bending down, picking up groceries or babies you end up throwing out your back.
Right, because you're doing it incorrectly.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Or, the mechanics are off, or you're not in a good position, or you don't have leverage or whatever. But we don't think about that, really. We just think, I have to bend down and get this.
Well, exactly.
So I was talking about this with a colleague of mine the other day, and it really is the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? So the back weakens to a degree that when you go and bend down to pick up a tissue, it's not the weight of the tissue. It's the fact that you bent down, and that was the last time that you bend down before your back says, that's it, I can't do this anymore. So either the muscles go, or there's a disc issue or whatever it is, but it's usually over time, it's this kind of insidious kind of condition. It happens over a long period of time.
And it's body mechanics. Using
Absolutely.
Good body mechanics
Yes.
makes so much sense. And, a guy who's at the 55-yard line like I am in life, I find a lot of my friends are dealing with back issues. And,
Correct.
And
right.
those chronic back issues could be built out over time because they just weren't using proper body mechanics.
Yeah. I mean, 80% of Americans suffer from back issues. There's some really incredible statistics out there. And the other thing is that, we spend a lot of our time at work. Now, if you're working from home, that may not obviously be the case that you're in an office environment, but you may be sitting a lot or you may be in front of a computer a lot. And because of that, in the 80s and the 90s, there was a huge push toward corporate wellness. And these were, programs that were developed in large companies with large facilities and a staff personnel. We kind of fell out of that in the late 90s and early 2000s, and then now we're back. But we're back in a different way. So what corporate wellness is now focusing on is a lot of cognitive function, a lot of mental wellness, financial wellness, things of that nature. So you're not only catering to the 20 and 35 set, but you're catering to the 45 plus set. People who have different kinds of responsibilities and are at different stages in their lives. There was some new data that just came out, which is very interesting. In 2017, only a third of the people surveyed actually thought their wellness program was good. 60% of them felt that it didn't really meet up to their standards. And what we're going to try to do with corporate wellness now is change the incentive structure. Not only that, but offer different things. So more of, we say wellness, it's a catch-all, right? It's an umbrella term, and it means all the things that I just said, but now you have to really put your money where your mouth is, and you have to offer employees those kinds of things. And again, not a plug, but Wellness Roundtable is something that could be an adjunct to an existing benefit package for a company. So if someone is sitting at their desk, they could pop right in and go, you know what, I have 15 minutes. I just got to talk to this guy who's an expert in low back pain and ergonomics. How do I sit properly? Okay, this is what you do. You sit like this, you sit like that. It's done through video. Done.
Love it.
So I think that those are some of the ways that technology can help in terms of the new corporate wellness environment. But there's still a lot of work to be done.
Well, I know we're getting ready to wind down.
Sure.
And I want to just say that kudos to you and kudos to a lot of those businesses out there realizing, because I care for older adults, that mind as well as financial wellness is included in the exercise wellness as well, physical wellness.
Yes.
So, I think we are really we're in a new paradigm. And we really need to focus in on the whole mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
We've got about 30 seconds, and I want you to just kind of wrap things up. I know you have a promotion if you go out to this one code.
If you go to wellnessroundtable.com and use the promo code 1100, you will get 20% off your roundtable session. You can choose any expert from a variety of fields.
Any lasting quick thoughts? We got about 10 seconds.
Well, I have to say I had a great time.
Well,
I think the show is fantastic.
Thank you.
And I'd love to come back.
Well, I'd like to have you back. You've been listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I've had the pleasure of having the guest, Dr. David Spierer, here on the studio. WellnessRoundtable.com. We'll be back next week. Make it a great day and have a great weekend.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 105.3 FM.
Bill Gunderson's nationwide Best Stocks radio show is now on Money Radio 1510 AM and 105.3 FM. Every morning from 9 to 10 a.m., professional money manager Bill Gunderson will talk about the economy, markets, and the best stocks now. Bill Gunderson is also the inventor of the Best Stocks Now app and the writer of the weekly Best Stocks Now newsletter. If you like to invest in the markets, this is the show for you. You will not want to miss one episode. Visit GundersonCapital.com for more info. That's GundersonCapital.com.
Money Radio 1510
and 105.3 FM.
KFNN Mesa, Phoenix. Well, taking a look at the market, it's in positive territory. The Dow's up 154 points at 24,664. The S&P 500 gained 24 at 2676. The Nasdaq up 78 at 69.35. Gold is up $1.60 at $12.58 an ounce, and oil up 26 cents at $57 a barrel.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we